just another way to get rich. Basically, it was just a business transaction. It was a really good way for a ruler to extend his dominions, or for a landowner to increase his property, and even for a banker to increase his wealth. Fathers chose husbands and wives for their children based on political and financial considerations. A middle-class girl could improve her social status by choosing to marry an upper-class boy. And then a son of nobility could make his economic position better by choosing to marry a girl whose dowry was very substantial. Now, my father is going to choose who I am to marry for the rest of my life.
That one.
What? Thank you, Dad. Mwah! Together forever. Before the couple got married, the family of the bride had to present the groom with a dowry, which sometimes could almost bankrupt the family. But without a dowry, a woman or girl could not be wed. So, many women whose families couldn't afford dowries would work, and then use the money from their wages to pay for the dowries themselves. In some places, dowries were limited by government regulations. However, in the places where dowries were unregulated, the dowry total could be so excessive that some families just couldn't afford it. The groom had complete control of the dowry, but it was also insurance for the bride if her husband ended up dying, so the money would then be used to support her family and herself. Lower-class marriage ceremonies were usually just spoken agreements in church between men and women with no documentation or license. Upper-class and royal ceremonies were very fancy events, featuring a church ceremony, a banquet, and very elaborate clothing for the bride. They were very formal and more public than the lower-class ceremonies because the married couple wanted to share their power and influence on society. Once the couple was married, the woman had to behave even more nicely and properly than normal so she would not disgrace her husband. And by the late 1500s, contracts of marriage were very common among all levels of society, even the peasants. Da-dum, da-da, da-dun, da-da, da-dun, da-da, da-da.
I pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss the dog.
Personally, I think it's pretty weird that women in the Renaissance could be married at the age as young as 13 years old, and often it would be to someone that could be even several years or decades older than herself. And that's basically the same thing as me getting married today right now to someone that is like 20 or 30 or 40 years old, and that'd be pretty weird. And then there's the girls that were unmarried by the age of 21, and they had absolutely no position in society because social life did not include a category for the unmarried women outside of religious life. Marriage was basically just another way to